Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, this is going to be a quick update to the Frost Terra Yuga build. We are going to be just showcasing a little bit of gameplay where I'm blasting through some tier 8 maps. If you don't know, Timemark 8, that's a little bit before the highest end game content, which is like Deep Space 8.4. I'm just doing some T8s because I had a bunch of T8s lying around, so of course I'm going to do them. Now, I took a few upgrades to get there, mainly in regards to our weapon and our belt and some of our survivability. So I have put probably well over like 500 to 700 FE into my build, and it's been definitely really good, as not only have I been able to do all my Traveler fights other than Traveler 8, which I haven't done yet, I've also, of course, been able to just zoom through the rest of the time marks and get all my stuff done. And now we're just farming FE for those next few juicy upgrades. Now, one of the biggest upgrades that I did since the last video was I actually upgraded to an amulet called the Scarlet Omen. If you don't know, Scarlet Omen, what it does is it not only gives us a very large amount of life, which of course scales all of our damage thanks to the usage of the Primeval Hourglass with damage over time multiplier and additional affliction as well, both of those combined. And of course, the one trait that gives us, where is it here? Gives us a bunch of extra space-time energy based on our life. This means that as we scale our life up, we actually scale our damage up, which then of course scales our tankiness, which makes the build feel so much better. Instead of just focusing pure in damage, we've hybridized a little bit into stacking HP just to get that little bit of extra damage on top of everything else. Now, the reason why we really like this amulet, the Scarlet Omen, is because of the one affix Corroded Gear. Essentially what this does is it consumes 2% of our current life whenever we are hit to give us 8% of our life when we're hit. So for instance, whenever we're losing life and getting hit, it will give us a bunch of life back. This is really strong against a bunch of enemies that hit us a bunch, like very small hits, and it keeps us sustained throughout, of course, time marks whenever we're dealing with scary enemies or when we're dealing with a very large amount of enemies, right? All of that allows us to just not be, instantly flattened whenever a bunch of things tries to hit us. Now, another thing that I did to bump up our survivability was to get a pedigree with poison immunity. So, poison immunity, what it does is it gives us maximum 5% erosion resistance and then converts 25% of physical and elemental damage to erosion damage, meaning that we have 75, 75, 75 elemental resistances, and we have no physical damage reduction outside of other sources, which means we take 25% less physical around and a little bit less elemental damage. And this is enough to make us not instantly die to physical damage. Eventually, I want to use a few more sources of physical damage reduction to make us even tankier. But right now, this is plenty for 8.0 and 8.1 content. And that's pretty much it for like most of the generalized upgrades. Now we're going to go in game and give a detailed look at all of my gear and stuff, because right now, sadly, due to some bugs, the current way of sharing builds, the build code stuff, isn't working properly between servers, meaning that I need to go through and showcase every single piece of my gear. So we're going to do that right now. So let's go in game, shall we? So here we are in game with the character. We are going to be very brief. I'm going to be showcasing things and talking about things in very brief detail. So, Path of Flames, Reaping Agony gives us another reap source. Guard gives us a lot of extra tinkiness when we're dealing with, when we're swapping over to Withering Beam on single target, as this gives us extra reap stacks. And of course, Channel Preparation is also for Wilting Beam. So when we're on single target, we get free barrier, and we also get a bunch of chunk, which is great. I believe we're supposed to get barrier. I don't know why I'm not getting barrier here. There you go. There. There's barrier, but yeah, we get barrier, we get extra channel stacks, and lets us do more damage, right? And of course, it doesn't really help us when we're using, of course, Path of Flame, but who cares? Doesn't matter. We're just using this for clear. Then Starstalker, Mania, Rhythm, Mass Effect. Essentially, the way I have it set up is I have 2 extra charges for my Starstalker, which gives it over 100% increased effect. So I'm getting 100% more dot damage against enemies, which is insane, absolutely ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Starstalker, really just insane. Like, I don't know why they added it at such a high value this patch. It's ridiculous. So definitely what your Starstalker in. Essentially, with this setup with enough cooldown and of course utilizing rhythm, it automates it so that I don't have to ever press Starstalker and make sure I'm always getting the maximum benefit from Mass Effect, because guess what? Starstalker is really insane and we want to be essentially making it as much as possible, right? Frost Terra, nothing really changed here, just 6 link here. Compound Potion, all we did was add Armor Infusion for less damage taken. If we take 4 Fizz hits, we'll take 44% physical hits during the duration of the potion. Now, of course, whenever we reset the potion, it will reset all the buffs, but this is essentially keeping us from not dying from a bunch of small little hits, which is great. Of course, Limber Stretch for a bunch of movement speed. That's the whole point of using this. Then Residue so that it keeps going. This is a lot of free extra sustain and movement speed. Mainly the movement speed. We really like movement speed with this build. Mana Boil, same setup. Mania, Mass Effect, Well Fought Battle. At the start of every stage, you just press W, and then you have Mana Boil ready to go. All that damage, right? Then Castle Channeling, Scorching Pulse plus cooldown reduction so we get more Scorching Pulses. Eventually, we want to scale enough cooldown recovery speed to make it so that we can get enough Scorching Pulses on single target. Now, something that most people don't know is like we don't have, whenever we're doing like dummy tests and stuff like that, we don't have access to the Flame Core, which is giving us an extra of course, Scorching Pulse. So I almost have 100% uptime on Scorching Pulse on single target as long as I'm getting hit. Of course, Elements of Implication, Deep Pain, triggered cast 1 damage taken here with Flame Core, of course, and Innate Curse with Biting Coal, Abysmal Hatred, and then we're running a Rejuvenation for extra life regen because we like life regen. Soul Cancel here, we just have Radius and cooldown for triggered skills, which is cooldown for this skill, which gives us more Scorching Pulses, which is great. Eventually, you can get +1 Terra here, and you can also get +1 Terra here. That would effectively give us 50% more damage, so it's definitely something that we're going to be looking into when we get there. Now, that's pretty much it for skills. Let's talk about passives. I'm literally just going to give you the look here. Here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gives you time to pause it. And then we're going to do the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. We're going to do the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. Then Statue, running Pedigree with Poison Immunity. Very good for making us tankier in the higher Timemarks. Just +1 persistent skill level, damage, obviously. +1 spell level works too. I got really lucky, got a +2 here. Skill radius, stuff like that. Here, I'm actually using a Corner of Divinity with Agility Blessing when casting. This is up all the time when we're clearing because it whenever we're utilizing our what is it called? Whenever we're utilizing our Flame Dash or whatever, it keeps ours topped up on Agility Blessings, which means it gives us a bunch of extra free movement speed, which is great and wonderful. And of course, the life is great. Here, we're running a Fallen Starlight with just a bunch of life because, like I said, the more life we get, the tankier we get, and the more damage we deal. And of course, here, life, regen, movement speed will blur, skill radius, skill duration, pretty good combo stats there. And that's pretty much it for our slates. Now, for our hero memories and stuff, we're running a Primeval Hourglass so that we gain additional damage over time from this, additional affliction from this, and then we also gain additional damage over time from this per temporal energy. So right now, we are currently at, if I'm going to read it here, believe we don't have any extra. Yeah, we don't have any extra. So it's 1.5% of our HP currently value, right? So we are at 5.7K. That's about 5. Feels like round it to 6. That's 6, 9. That's 90 extra space-time energy. If you don't know, we started at 100. So we're doubling our space-time energy with this node. So we're essentially 200. Let's just round it up to that. So we're getting 30% more damage from this. We're getting about like 16% more damage from this. And then about like 2, 3, it's like 10, 12, like 24% more damage from this so far. But yeah, getting a lot of free more damage from all of these modifiers, of course. Running double Secret of Time. One of the biggest problems with getting this much space, one of the biggest problems with getting this much, right, is we need to actually sustain it. And if we don't have two of these with decent rolls, we will not be able to sustain our space-time energy. That's the only problem. But it definitely well more than worth it because we get like 30%, 30%, and then like 40% more damage. So it's definitely way more than like these hero memories could ever give us, which is great. And of course, the last one, we just movement speed and some reap, which is great. This is good for clear because it just gives us an outlet for reap when we're clearing. And that's pretty much it for hero memories. Now let's talk about gear, shall we? So, corrupted marrow with +2 max terror quantity. Of course, you can just buy a bunch of corrupted marrows on the market and corrode them till you get this, which is great. Same thing with kingly armor. I went for movement speed. Eventually, I want to get a +2 instead of +1%, but right now +1% works, and that's pretty much what you want on your kingly armor. Scar Omen, I just got one with as much HP as possible, of course. Gloves here, I went for HP, regen, res. You can eventually get some fun stuff on your gloves later on. Belt here, a corroded paleness embrace. We have 50% of increase and decreases to skill radius, also applied to area damage, which is what we're doing. So if we go down to over here, we have 326. So this belt is giving us 150% increased damage, some area, and some life, right? Which is great. It gets much better if we get much better stat wands, as I'll show you later. Boots here, we're running King's Boon with corroded movement speed. More with less gives us a bunch of more damage, while also, less damage, which those less damage doesn't apply to us, which is great. Then ring number 1, affliction, res, HP, the usual stuff. Same thing with the other one. Erosion, elemental res, erosion, affliction, HP, stuff like that. Eventually, you'd want like the spell damage on the prefix. I just fucked it up, which is fine. Now on wand number 1, we have +3. You only need +2, by the way. You don't need +3. Some percent damage here. Max terror charges is really strong. This gives us a lot of extra damage, which is great. Then on my other wand here, +2, we have cooldown recovery speed and max terror charge +3, reap, and then some dot damage. This is what I actually spent most of my time crafting, and it gives us a lot of free damage because, as you can see here, we're at 7 max Terra charges for our Frost Terra, and we zoop it up very quickly, and we can have all 4 max Frost pools up with very easy uptime, which is not even a problem, right, with this setup. And Frost Terra gets like, I think, 40% more damage per. So we're getting, I think, like 280% more damage just by Terra Charge stacking, which is absolutely insane. If you don't know, that is really, really good. So being able to get these on our wands is great, right? And that's pretty much it for gearing. And I think that's pretty much it for the build. For pack spirits, I'm just running res here, and then we're running just like drop pets for the rest of it. I'm running just a very tiny bit of affliction effect here, but yeah, pretty much. And then we actually get some reaping duration, which doesn't actually really help us. I'm actually gonna actually. No, it doesn't matter. The reaping duration doesn't help us, but I do want the drop quantity. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the build, and that's pretty much it for the video. This is going to be it for this build. We're probably going to make another update when I put more investment into it. But yeah, with all that being said, this has been Dread, off to go do something else. Bye.